Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a pretty radical shift in how people think about investing. We're going to follow one investor's journey as they basically throw out the old rulebook, ditching those so-called safe dividend stocks to go all in on the innovators of tomorrow. It's a bold move. All right, so where does this all start? Well, it kicks off with this single moment of, real conviction. An investor, Tony Hicks, he takes a long, hard look at his portfolio and just decides, that's it, I'm making a big bet. He's moving past all those comfortable, familiar stocks because he sees this huge, untapped opportunity out there. And you know what sparked this whole thing? It was a really provocative question, one that kind of flies in the face of decades of investing advice. What if? What if the very stocks we've all been taught are safe, the reliable, old-school dividend pairs, what if they're actually a trap? Like something that's actively holding your portfolio back? So, the conviction for this big bet, it's really about moving beyond yesterday's winners. And the whole thing is built on this really simple but powerful idea. The future of dividend income, it's not going to come from those old household names from the 20th century. Nope. It's going to come from the companies that are actually building the essential stuff for tomorrow. So what we're looking at here is a huge shift in philosophy, a total change in mindset. He basically said goodbye to the dividend aristocrats, those old guard companies that are still kind of milking innovations from the last century. And instead, he put his money into what he calls dividend architects. These are the companies building the future, monetizing the 21st century right now, and here's the key, sharing those profits with investors. All right, so what really lit the fire for such a huge change? I mean, this wasn't just a whim, right? It all started with a really honest, kind of sobering look at how his portfolio was actually doing. Just a routine review, but it uncovered something big. And man, the realization he had it was stark. He looked at his portfolio and saw that his rock-solid blue-chip stocks, they were basically going nowhere, flat. But then his smaller, more innovative bets, they were driving all the growth. And not just that, they were cranking up their dividends by double-digit rates. He realized, wait a minute, I'm rewarding stability, but it's innovation that's actually rewarding me. And when you look at the numbers, they really tell the story, don't they? His portfolio was, technically safe, but it was just stuck, going absolutely nowhere. Sure, the yield was okay, about 3.2%, but the dividend growth, super slow. Capital appreciation, pretty much flat. And the real kicker, he was almost completely missing out on the sectors that are literally changing the world. So, armed with this realization, what did he do? He didn't just tweak a few things here and there. Oh no, he performed what he calls a portfolio surgery, a complete overhaul, following this really disciplined three-step process to take his portfolio from, defensive and sleepy to dynamic and ready for the future. And the framework he used, it's super simple, but really powerful. Step 1, audit everything he owned. Step 2, identify the new dividend engines that would power future growth. And step 3, prune all the dead weight that was holding him back. Simple as that. So for step 1, the audit, this wasn't just about looking at the usual safety numbers like payout ratios. It went way deeper. He started ranking every single company on its potential for growth, and, this is so important, its relevance to the future. How connected is it to these massive trends like AI, the green energy transition, and all the innovation happening in healthcare? In this whole process, it uncovered a new core group of what he calls dividend engines. We're talking about companies like Broadcom, this semiconductor giant that is just a cash printing machine. Or think about Microsoft. Yeah, the yield is kind of small, but the compounding growth is absolutely massive. See, these companies aren't just about the income check. They drive huge capital gains too. They became the new beating heart of his portfolio. And finally, step 3, pruning. This is where he got ruthless. Out went the comfort names. He sold off those legacy companies like AT&T, which he called the ultimate dividend mirage, plus 3M and Walgreens. These were stocks that had a nice-looking yield, but in his opinion, they just had no pulse, no future. Selling them off freed up all that cash to pour into businesses with real, actual forward momentum. Okay, but here's the million-dollar question, right? Did all this portfolio surgery, did it actually work? Did the big bet pay off? Let's dig into the numbers and see the transformation for ourselves, the before and after. Okay, so here's the before snapshot. The yield was, respectable at 3.4%, not bad, but the dividend growth, pretty slow, just 4.6% a year. And get this, he had only 9% exposure to the entire tech sector. I mean, this is the classic old school defensive income portfolio right here. And now, the after. Check this out. The yield actually went up. It's now 4.1%. But that's not even the real story. The big news is the dividend growth. The projected 5-year growth rate more than doubled to an incredible 9.8%. And at the same time, his tech exposure shot up from just 9% all the way to 33%. And that number, 9.8%, that's the whole ballgame right there. That's the key. See, this isn't just about getting a slightly bigger dividend check next year. No, this number represents the new compounding power of the entire portfolio. This growth rate, that is the engine that's going to drive real wealth over time. It's way more powerful than just the starting yield. And if you look at the new sector allocation, it just reflects the strategy perfectly. You can see it right here. The portfolio is now this beautiful mix of stability and innovation. You've got these huge weights in future-facing sectors, semiconductors, tech, healthcare, but it's balanced out by reliable players in energy, utilities, and financials. It's the best of both worlds. Looking at this whole journey, it's clear this wasn't just about swapping out a few stocks. This was about adopting a completely new philosophy for income investing, a new way of thinking, built on some really smart observations about how the economy works today. So, lesson number 1, that old idea that tech stocks don't pay dividends, it's over. It's dead. The tech giants of today, your Microsofts, your Broadcoms, they are some of the biggest cash printing machines the world has ever seen, and they are sending enormous amounts of that cash straight back to their shareholders. Second big trend, there's this quiet revolution happening in the energy sector. As the whole world shifts over to clean power, the companies building all that green infrastructure, well, they're becoming the new steady eddies. They've got these regulated, predictable cash flows that are perfect for fueling reliable and, more importantly, growing dividends for years to come. So let's boil it all down. What are the big lessons here? First, don't confuse stability with safety. A business that's just treading water is not a safe investment, not in the long run. Second, dividend growth is way more important than the starting dividend yield. That's where the real wealth is built. And finally, you gotta be proactive. You can't just sit back on autopilot because the market is evolving way, way faster than our own comfort zones. And I think this quote just sums up the entire mental shift perfectly. It's about moving away from this passive, defensive mindset where you're just trying to survive the next decade and moving towards a proactive, forward-looking strategy where you're actually building a portfolio to thrive in it. Huge difference. And so that really leaves us with a final, powerful question to think about for ourselves. I mean, take an honest look at your own portfolio, your own strategy. Is it just built to survive the next decade, or is it truly built to thrive in it?